So it's 3 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody to another edition of our Beyond School Hours follow-up webinar series. My name is Elizabeth Siri. I'm the Executive Director of Communications and Development for Foundations, Inc. Before we get started, I'll just give you a little bit of background about Foundations. We are a national education nonprofit. We're located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and our mission is to improve the quality of education by building the skills of educators. So we work across the school day. We work in after-school programs and schools with districts and even at the state level. And our vision is really to create a brighter future for every child every day. If you're interested in learning more about Foundations, we encourage you to take a minute to follow us on social media, check out our website, and Paula will make sure that that information is in the chat box for you. You may already know us from our signature professional learning experience, the Beyond School Hours annual conference. Our conference is held each year in February, and in 2022, we're so excited. We're going to be back in Orlando, Florida in person, and we hope you will all consider joining us. We will make sure that the information about the conference is also in the chat. We encourage you to register if you are interested in attending. The rooms are really going fast. We think that people are really ready to get back to in-person events. So we're excited to be there again in February this year. Today we have with us Michelle Pina from KidGrit. And Michelle is going to be sharing some mindfulness and emotional intelligence strategies to help staff stay healthy and productive during these stressful times. So thanks, Michelle, for joining us.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure.
You're all set.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everybody. We're going to just slowly get started. That way we can get ourselves comfortable, be able to get, our screen the way we want it while we're waiting for, I'm sure we're going to have some others that are going to join us in just a little bit. In the chat box, if you want to go ahead and start off the conversation together with letting us know where you're tuning in from. I'm coming to you from Texas along the Gulf Coast. So pleasure to see all of these great faces. Just want to let you know that if you have experienced a KidGrit virtual training, you know that it's going to be very interactive. We want to see faces. We're going to want to hear your voices. Your contributions in the chat box are going to be invaluable. So, don't be shy. Show your face. Also, we understand that, you may not be in the right environment to, turn on your microphone or to show your face. Totally understand that, but we just ask you to be present and then just take advantage of the chat box. So welcome, Michael. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, gray and cold, I heard up in the Northeast. We're in the mid 70s here on the Gulf Coast, so enjoying the sunshine. Sending positive and warm greetings to everybody across the United States. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and just again share a little bit of information about what we're going to be doing today. So again, my name is Michelle Pina. I'm with KidGrit and one of the KidGrit ambassadors. So we're out here, just working with folks in the education and out of school time world and industries. To give us the tools and the space to ensure that we're taking care of ourselves in order to take the best care that we can with our youth that we work with. So just love seeing all, the representation. We've got Mira from Salem. Welcome, Natalie. Thank you for letting us 3 hours directly west of Chicago. So awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And, just a little bit about KidGrit, as I mentioned, we're all about just providing the tools and the resources and the strategies to, again, focus on your wellness and your well-being and also that of your staff. So what we're going to be doing today is really focusing on ourselves first. Some of the activities that we're going to be doing today, you can absolutely share them with your staff, engage your colleagues in these activities, and if you feel that the youth that you're working with are ready, the tools that we're going to share today, you can absolutely use them with middle school and high school youth and even early college. We do have some tools that are geared toward younger elementary and upper elementary. So, if that's something that you're interested in as well, happy to, to connect you with those resources as well. All right. So before we get started, just want to ask everyone, that's here together and that's going to be spending the next hour, what does a safe space mean for you? And what we want to focus on is here in this virtual setting, what do we need personally to feel safe? Or what is it that we know that we need to provide for each other so that we can be open and honest and vulnerable in the next 50 minutes that we're going to be together. So what I'd like for you to do in the chat box, enter, what it is, whether it's a word, a phrase, a sentence of what does a safe space mean for you, or what does it take to create a safe space. Now, once you enter your answer, don't hit enter just yet, just type in your answer. So I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to go ahead and type their answer into the chat box. But again, don't press enter until I say so. So just a few seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and enter my answer as well. So again, what do we need? What do you need personally to create a safe space? Or what is it that you know that others can use and benefit from when having a safe space? Right. And those of you that have just joined in, welcome. My name is Michelle Pena with the Kid Grit team. And in the chat box, we're just sharing with each other without hitting the enter on your keyboard yet. What does a safe space mean for you? Right. So hello, Pat from Tampa. Welcome. So hopefully everybody's had enough time to enter their answer. And what we're going to do in our chat box is we're going to create a waterfall. And by doing that, on the count of 3, we're all going to hit our enter button so that our answer will be broadcast in the chat box. So if you're ready, 1, 2, 3, enter. Right. Love just seeing all of this. So space that's comfortable, a place where we can talk easily, no ridicule, mutual respect, peace, judgment-free, love it. A place to confide in and help another one grow, love it. Definitely we're going to be doing a little bit of growing and stretching today. Patience and understanding, mutual respect. Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. So this is what I think, as you read through the chat, things that I think we can all agree upon. If there's anything that you want to add to this list that wasn't mentioned that you feel needs to be added, feel free to do so. You can enter more than one characteristic of a safe space. And then I also invite, if there's anybody that'd like to comment on safe space and what it means for you. So feel free to unmute. Show your video. You're invited to do that. Right. But I think everything we can all agree to. So what I'd like for everybody to do now is in that chat box, if these are all things that we can agree upon and that these are things that we can all say that we are going to honor and that we're going to provide for each other, let's go ahead and type our name in the chat box that we are agreeing to this safe space that we're creating for the rest of the time together. So just enter your name and that is our agreement. Thank you, everybody. Love seeing that waterfall of names coming through again. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, so we're going to go and get started. And now that we've gone ahead and we've got that space, we can all take a deep breath, sit a little taller, get focused, or maybe if you just want to cuddle into your chair, but if you might be on your phone, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So what we're going to be working with is one of the key tools that KidGrit has, and we start all of our trainings off with this tool. And wasn't able to get this tool to you ahead of time, but what I'm going to do is put a couple of options for you in the chat box. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is our holistic wellness wheel. And this is a tool that you can use for yourself. You can share it with your staff and walk them through this exercise. You can share it with colleagues. And again, absolutely designed to work with youth that you engage with on a daily basis. So I'm giving you two options. The first one I'm going to put in the chat box is a Jamboard version. So you can click on that link and you can make yourself your own personal electronic copy of our holistic wellness wheel. The other option that I'm going to share with you is going to be a PDF version that I'm going to go ahead and share with you. That way you can, again, open it up. You can also print it if you have a printer nearby. So both of those options are in the chat box. So whichever option you choose. Also, other options. So I'm going to be sharing a picture, of what the holistic wellness wheel looks like. And, if you prefer just to sketch out a copy of the wheel on a piece of paper or notepad, whatever the case might be, you can absolutely do that as well as we walk through this exercise. So I'll give everybody just a moment to get their preferred method of the holistic wheel set up. Any questions about the Jamboard version, the PDF version, or the version that I'm showing on our screen?
What's the Jamboard version? Was that used?
So the Jamboard, it's a Google link that I put in the chat box. And if you open up that link, it'll open up, it'll ask you, do you want to make a copy? And then you'll have your own copy saved on a Google Drive. And then also you can download it to your own desktop. All right. So here we go. So just, talking a little bit about the holistic wellness wheel. So again, this is one of the first things that we always like to start off our sessions with. And, you may have seen this before. It may be your first time. You'll quickly see that. And if you have experienced the holistic wellness wheel before, if you're like me, every time I engage with the wheel, just feel a little bit more empowered and just feel a little bit reflective in how I'm growing and stretching and contracting, in that moment in life. So when we look at the whole holistic wellness wheel, it's aligned with CASTLE, all of the tenets of what we should be looking at to be, well-developed individual. So the wheel has some areas, and we'll kind of go around each spoke of the wheel and talk about a little bit of them, because each of the documents that you have, the Jamboard and the PDF, also has on the back side of it, on page 2, definitions of what each spoke of the wheel means. So we've got self-awareness right at 12 o'clock. We have home environment, at the 11 o'clock spoke. So all of these are all areas in our life that periodically, we want to go ahead and reflect on. Where are we at this moment in time? The holistic wellness wheel, what I'm going to ask you to do today is kind of decide for yourself. Do you want to be reflective in your professional life? Do you want to be reflective in your personal life? So I'll let you decide, which one you want to go with as we, walk through the rest of this activity. Now, step 1, we're going to be working on this individually. So again, whether you have your Jamboard, on the Jamboard, you've got markers, you've got stickies. If you're really fancy, you can use images, and you're going to, score yourself on your wheel. If you have the ability to download and print the PDF version, great, print one off. Again, if you don't have that ability and you're just going to be using what's on the screen, just grab a piece of paper, draw a wheel, and create, your spokes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 spokes around your wheel. All right, so what we're going to want to do is start off with home environment. So it's going to be the 11 o'clock spoke on the wheel. And what I'd like for you to do is think about your home environment as it is right now. And if you need to refer to the definitions on page 2, feel free. And on a scale of 1 to 5, you're going to place a dot on that spoke of the wheel. The closest to the center is going to be 1. And then the further out the spoke, the closest to the outer edge of the wheel is going to be 5. So 1 is a low rating and 5 is you're knocking it out of the park. You excel at it. So when it comes to your home environment, when you come home, what kind of feeling do you have? Are you satisfied with your home environment? So again, on a scale of 1 to 5, place a dot along that spoke. And then after you've completed that one, you're going to go ahead and work your way around the wheel counterclockwise. Next to mindful eating, taking that moment, appreciating what nourishment you're putting into your body. The next one is your relationship skills. Right now, this moment in time, today, how are your relationships coming along? What effort, what energy are you putting into your current relationships, whether they're professional relationships, acquaintances, family members, your close intermediate family or your extended family. The next spoke on the wheel as we continue counterclockwise is digital consciousness and screen time. So this one is thinking about how much time are you on social media, binge watching, on the computer, whether it's professionally, recreationally. And then it's not just the quantity that you're spending, but also the quality of that screen time and that digital consciousness. How aware of you, are you very aware? A 5. Have you never really thought about it? Then maybe a 1 or a 1.5 on the scale. Right? So continuing around, your social and cultural awareness about other cultures, things that are going on in our society today, whether this is your program, the group of students that you work with, your organization, your town, your state, the world. Where would you rate yourself on that? Next is your confidence level. How do you see yourself? How do you feel about your confidence? Next is physical activity, exercise, and movement. Are you consciously, getting out of your seat periodically? Do you sometimes struggle and realize, oh my gosh, I've been sitting in front of the screen for 5 hours? Are you, frequently taking walks? Are you dedicated and going to the gym 3 days a week? I am not. I struggle. Self-management and regulation. So again, this is just thinking about you as an individual. How are you regulating emotions, reactions, managing your time, managing your thoughts, managing your energy levels? So how are you, how much time are you spending? What quantity, what frequency are you taking care of yourself? And then, again, coming up to 1 o'clock, we're about all the way around the wheel, your responsible decision making. And then the last one, your self-awareness. So I'm going to give you a couple of, minute and a half, couple minutes, so that you can continue working around your wheel. If you have any questions or if there's anything that you'd like to ask, feel free to put that in the chat or unmute and ask away. So not necessarily riding in the wheel. On each spoke, what you'll be doing is you'll be using a dot, and measure yourself on how aware are you? How are you feeling? What are you experiencing about that spoke? So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being low rating, that's going to be the closest to the center of the wheel. 5 is going to be that you are, like I said, if you're working on physical activity, exercise and movement, if you're going to the gym on a regular basis, you have a meal plan, you're at your ideal, body, then you would score yourself a 5, a 4.4 or 5, just by putting a dot on that spoke of the wheel. No problem. Any other questions as we finish up? Some of these are difficult, some of these are easy. Just go with your first instinct. Michael, yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's 10 of these different categories,
Mhm.
do you tend to teach them like one at a time to really evaluate and take time to build them up? Because for me, and I think for kids, it'd probably be hard to grasp it all at once.
Exactly. Yes. No, absolutely. I think working with youth, it would definitely be, before you present it to them, maybe have a few conversations about these these areas of life, and then also what the definitions mean. Because for some of our youth, they may not have any idea what self-awareness is. So I think definitely it might be worthwhile to, plan a little bit of a discussion time, over the course of a day, a week, just, your students, and, you never know what kind of conversations it's going to reveal. So absolutely. Let's see, accessing the wheel. Absolutely. So we have a link for a electronic version, a Jamboard version. I'm going to go ahead and share that again in the chat. Make sure I share that with everyone so everyone sees it. And then also there's a PDF version that I'm about to share again. That way you can have a copy of it. And if you have the ability to download or print, you can do that as well. So both of those I've just added to the chat box. All right. So I think that's everybody's had a little bit of time. So step 2, this is going to be your second step on the wheel. Again, just on our own. What we're going to do next on your wheel is you're going to go ahead and connect your dots. So as you can see on the next screen that I've shared, we've got, let's see, I'm trying to see if that's the one. So I'm kind of going through just an example here, again, visually, the dots, and we want to go ahead and connect them. All right, so take a moment to do that. All right, so now once we've connected all of our dots, just take a moment, observe your wheel, take a moment to acknowledge any feelings or thoughts that this is causing. All right, so next step in the activity, we're going to go ahead and divide up into breakout rooms. We are going to have one group stay in the main room, so that way we can have that portion part of the recording. So what we'd like for you to do is when you do go into your groups, you will go ahead and and then this is an invitation. If you're not comfortable sharing your wheel, you absolutely do not have to, but if you do have the electronic version, feel free to share your screen. If you printed it off or you did it on a scratch piece of paper, hold it up and share it with everybody, or just have a conversation. And there's 3 things that we'd like for you to discuss as a small group. And those are going to be, what did you notice? What did you see? And were there any surprises as you went through this activity? All right, so what did you notice? What did you see? And were there any surprises? So these are going to be the 3 questions that we'd like for everybody to answer in your groups. So I believe Paula is going to go ahead and divide us into groups, and we're going to take 5 minutes in the breakout groups. So any questions so far? Okay. All right. Hello, everybody in this main room group. Feel free to unmute if you haven't already, or if you're able. And is there anybody that'd like to go first? Mira, would you like to go first? Or
Sure.
Chantel?
If anybody's talking, I have trouble hearing. Mine was pretty even keel. You know, if you
Okay.
can see it. I did it in light pen.
Perfect.
It was pretty even keel. It's more circle-ish than I thought.
Okay. Wonderful.
There's no surprises. I did it like a multiple choice test. Don't think about it too much.
Okay.
Just go with my gut. I'm a pretty even keel person. Which really
Wonderful.
surprises me.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Anyone else? Again, what did you see? What did you notice? And were there any surprises?
Hi everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Hi, Leandra.
Hi. Sorry my camera isn't on, but I'm driving down the street. So
No problem. Oh goodness. I hope you weren't making dots while you were driving.
No, I was listening to what you were saying though.
Okay.
My life right now, with all due respect, is a mess. So I am pretty sure that I would not have a great circle as Miss Mira did. Mine would probably be all over the place. So I am definitely going to, I have some of my coworkers on here. They should be on the call. So hopefully they were able to download the diagram or whatever, so I can really look at it later.
Okay.
But
Not a problem.
I know I'm a mess right now. So
well, thank you for your honesty, and that's okay. It's just, that's how it is. That's how things are going at this moment. That doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. So thank you.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else who would like to share?
I'll share. Sure. I did mine on a scrap piece of paper.
Okay.
My name's Ileana. And I noticed that, well, here's a little bit of the background. I became a mom 2 years ago, and now I'm going to be a mom again soon. And so the points that relate to my day-to-day, like digital time, home, relationships, those things scored a little bit higher, like on the 3-ish scale or 3.5. But anything that's related to self-care, maybe like social awareness, anything that kind of just goes with like physical activity, sort of that time that I need to dedicate to myself is much lower. So I'm not surprised, because it's something that I've known that I need to work on, and I'm just trying to look for that balance. But it's interesting to see it this way.
Okay, thank you. Well, and congratulations on the new adventure.
Thank you.
Right, anyone else? Again, just an open invitation. No one else? So usually I do participate on the wheel. Today I didn't, and I'm feeling like I'm missing out. But it is something that I do enjoy coming back to. And that's something, that that I'd love for you to keep in mind, is that the wheel is, again, it's fluid. As Leandra shared, that if she was to look at herself in this manner today, not all rainbows and sunshines, but life's not like that, so it's definitely something to come back to and reflect on. And the frequency can completely be up to you as an individual, or if you decide to do this with a group, you can determine, how often you want to come back to it. And, then again, looking at the conversations that can come about when you engage in this activity with a group of folks or a group of youth.
I can see that my wheel could be different depending upon the day. This is a relatively good day.
Yes.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring?
Exactly. I love that. So I think we just have a couple of more minutes. Definitely want to give everybody an opportunity to share. So if there's anybody else in this group who would like to share, please do. Was there any part of the wheel that was new for you to think about for your own wellness, self-care?
Well, I think it was more specific than a lot of wellness genres, to look at responsible decision making was good. And self-confidence and relationship skills. I think it was very well-rounded, and I could see our agency works with middle schoolers through college students, and I could see this would be a great exercise for all the groups, as well as the staff, as well as me on occasion.
I wanted to mention, hi, I'm Chantella. I wanted to mention home environment because that one is like big for me. So just like even like when I start my day, like I have to literally make up my bed. Like it doesn't matter what is going on. Like even if the kids don't make up their bed or something, like it bothers me. Because I think that is like the start of your day, like to actually reorganize, be prepared. Like I think it all starts there. It's kind of like if you just rush in and leave that and forget about home, it's kind of like how do you, function once you leave out the door, even when you're around your home. It's kind of like when you keep, like for me, keeping my home clean and organized keeps me functional. If everything is not clean, like if I'm cooking, I have to clean up as I go. I have to have the bathroom clean and things like that. I think that has a lot to do mentally. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, it does. Like I have to have my home environment good.
Oh yes, and I actually struggle with making my bed.
Yeah, even if it's not at the best, but I have to make it before I leave out.
All right. Yes. And, home environment, that's something that is, very personal, and, that can be definitely something that is, varied, and, people approach their home environment so differently.
Right.
And, I think, that's again, a way to open up conversation and learn about each other, and, see what you have in common, and, what differences are, or you might even learn something.
Right.
All right. So we have about 90 seconds left. So I think the other groups are going to start to enter the room as they start wrapping up. So, again, feel free to continue sharing before that happens. But thank you all for your participation and your honesty and your vulnerability. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
I was going to add one more thing.
Sure.
I found the social and culture awareness spoke. Well, I just have it as S&C, but I think that's what it was, right? Social and cultural
Yes.
awareness. I found that one, it surprised me a little bit because it's not something that I really consider
Okay.
when I think about like my own wellness.
Right.
And I also kind of thought about like, well, what exactly does that encompass? Like, does that mean being aware of other people's needs around me or what's going on in the news? Or I don't know. I just, it was really interesting. I'm just kind of wondering maybe what your thoughts are.
Right. So, and I don't know if you had the opportunity to, kind of look at the definition, what, at least in this context, what that entails, and that's going to be, and I'm just kind of glancing at it, being able to take the perspective of others, being able to empathize with others, that may come from a different background than you do. And then ensuring that, are you taking into account other cultures, other beliefs, other values other than your own? And
I have to leave to another meeting. I wish I can say this is really interesting.
Okay, no problem.
But
Well,
I
it is
will
being recorded, so feel free to tune back in and you can continue the journey with us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Hi. So welcome back, everyone. So our group that was in the main room, we were just kind of wrapping up our conversation, and I think we were focusing on, what parts of the entire wheel were areas that maybe we had never thought of before. So would love to hear if there's any other thoughts on that. Was there anything that, was new for you from the other groups?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I join in?
Absolutely.
Sweet. So you saw Ryan's request to get those things dropped into the chat.
Yes.
What he pointed out to me, because I actually was able to share my Jamboard that I had done my self-evaluation on, was that we should be mindful while doing this of how we're rating ourselves, and if we're doing it kind of honestly for how we feel, or if we're bringing in a lot of the social expectations or what we think our parents, our students, our coworkers, society in general may be thinking, like, how are we actually rating ourselves?
Yes.
So.
Yes, absolutely. And, this first attempt at it was, it may be worthwhile going back and looking at it again. And like, am I trying to, reflect what others think of me, or is it how I think of myself? So yes, love that came up in the conversation. Absolutely. Anyone else?
One more question?
Sure.
I was gonna say, with this tool, I'm imagining that you use it over time repeatedly, right? So that they kind of have an opportunity to get used to it and see growth, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. And that's definitely part of, what we wanted to do, or, part of our coming back together to the main room is, not only, just kind of reflecting on how we felt about this experience, but then taking it the next step. How can we use this? How do we see that we would want to use this tool? And as I mentioned when I first introduced it, this is something that you just want to look at this moment in time. And I was sharing with my group that today was like the first time facilitating a session that I personally did not, put my dots on the wheel, and I feel like I'm missing out because it's something that I do frequently just by virtue of facilitating these sessions. And so definitely, as an individual, if you just want to use this as your reflection tool, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, to see how you're growing or you're ebbing and flowing in any particular area, because with the wheel, it's just showing you, where you're at in this moment in time. And based on what you see, that may determine, the next area of growth that you want to take on and build an action plan and set some goals. And what a great way to measure your achievement on those goals is by coming back to the wheel and comparing, to your original one. So just kind of with that, thought, are there any ideas or any light bulbs or any, moments of inspiration that are popping up for you and how you can use this tool, again, with your staff, with your students, with your family even?
Hi, this is Paula. While I was in the group, one of the things that came to mind, other than looking at myself, is how would I use this with my students? I'm an SEL instructor, and I work with middle school and high schoolers. And so one of the thoughts that came to mind is to really use it over time, focusing on one piece at a time. And it could actually flow with the SEL lessons as we go, maybe using, maybe having either having it on more of a poster style where students may be able to kind of pinpoint where they are on that area. When we're working towards, the example, if we're talking about self-awareness and, where you are, or confidence, building your confidence, and having students being able to just kind of pinpoint where they think they are at that point, and not necessarily doing the entire wheel one time, but as we go through the different lessons, they can actually go in and change, and they can also make the changes if they choose to.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else? Any ideas?
I'd like how, was it Patricia, you just mentioned using it over time? That got me thinking of like introducing the topics, maybe in a week, like 2 topics each day, because I don't have a big chunk of time with our students, but maybe to start 2 chunks each day. And maybe even while you're introducing those topics on each day, you might use something that's a little easier for them to rate themselves on, like a how am I feeling smiley face chart. And do that for 5 days, and then maybe write a couple of reasons for why. And then once they get the idea of what these topics are, then throw the wellness wheel on there. So then they use the wellness wheel, and you can then take longer time to dig into each category. With a school year, a semester, whatever, it takes a little bit of planning, but that's probably how I would try and break it down. Introduce it to them quick at first, but then take time on each specific section and focus on that section.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. Anyone else? Thank you, Michael. So one, you mentioned having, the smiley faces, just some kind of icon that's showing their progression. As I mentioned, this is the original wheel designed for middle school and high school, and then, staff. So, we have a variation on it that is for the lower elementary, and it actually has little emojis, smiley faces and unhappy faces along the spokes. And of course, the definitions are a little bit simpler, for that age of audience. If you are planning to join us next week, we're actually going to be sharing some other versions of the wheel that focus on financial literacy, creativity. So the wheel can evolve, and this is a framework for you to use. So change the language, make the spokes on the wheel something more relevant to your students, so that way it is a familiar term for them, so that they're comfortable and understand what you're introducing to them. Any other thoughts on how you could use this tool, say, tomorrow?
So for me, even though this was a glance for me, I think totally this is a great thing for me to, as a personal thing. I think I was sharing in my group that, you know, this is the end of the year kind of a time. So it's a great, to me, I think it's a great way to reflect on where you are right now. So I can say I will be intentional to pull it out in the next couple of days and reflect at where I am and where I, you know, I can improve on a personal level. So I think even with that will allow me to be even better equipped to talk to my students in the new year about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it.
I was going to mention, like you said, it's a framework. I really feel that it gives you talking points to address with students. Like if somebody's not being self-aware or managing themselves, or maybe they don't have the social awareness and, you know, they're rating themselves low on that, or they're rating themselves high on that, but actually all their friends are saying that they're not doing a good job on that one. You may be able to address that. Say, hey, you know, in private conversation, I saw you rated yourself here. Can we talk about a couple of these topics that fit under here? And, you know, like you could use it as that framework to specifically address certain issues that are going on. And I like how, Patricia, you mentioned using it as like an end of the year tool to do a reflection or an assessment. The one thing I was thinking about is how I would use it tomorrow is I would say, if I were to give this to the kids and, you know, they did it, I would definitely try and not overwhelm them and say like, you got to improve everything in your life because you're too little low on the scale. But I would say like, let's start with one. Let's pick one specific area you want to focus on and see how you do the next couple of weeks.
Yes, absolutely. Because, you know, we're only human. We're not perfect. You know, and again, depending on what's going on in our life, you know, we might slack off a little bit on our mindful eating. We had one person in our group share that, you know, if she participated and did this wheel right now, it would not look pretty. But she knew that this is where she's at in this moment in life. And in a week from now, it could be completely different. So yes, definitely important, you know, not to focus on, oh, the goal is to be, you know, be a perfect circle, because we're not, we're human. And I loved how you were talking about, you know, working on addressing, you know, issues and deciding what are we going to work on together. So, you know, if you are working with a group of youth, you know, they can compare and see who's not doing so well in one area, but somebody's really excelling. And then you can have you can create accountability partners, accountability groups. You know, you can, the students will then, you know, be able to see, oh, I'm pretty good at this. You know, let me use my skills and help my friends, you know, my fellow students. So yes, there's just so many ways for, you know, goal setting, accountability, helping discover similarities and differences with each other. One other option that you could do with youth is have them work in pairs, where maybe you give them a pair of students a copy of the wheel. And then, you know, they have that small little intimate conversation with each other. And, you know, so maybe a beginning of the semester, beginning of a school year, small groups, you know, to foster getting to know each other would be another idea. So we have a couple of little suggestions in the chat box. Peer rating was mentioned, having a theme to work on each month. And I think, Michael, you kind of, you know, addressed that a little bit ago about, you know, planning this out over the course of a semester or a year. So any other suggestions? I mean, just love the conversation that's happening. Thank you all. Anybody else feel inspired, energized? Parent engagement, absolutely. Opening up those conversations with students and parents, introducing the tool to parents, because they need some love too. They have a lot going on, so giving them the opportunity to take a moment and reflect. Absolutely. All right. So any we talked about just, our own observations about the wheel, how, what did we observe? There were some areas that some of us shared that we never really thought about. And then, we went ahead and looked at, different ways that we could go ahead and use this starting tomorrow. So hopefully, we've got a lot more to think about and to use. Any questions that have come up for anybody thus far? Yes, Richardson V, finding the things that we have in common, feeling inspired. Yes, the possibilities are endless, and this is just the start.
Michelle?
Yes.
I was wondering if in next week's session you will share more of those other versions of the wheel, because the one that grabbed my attention the most was the one for younger students.
Absolutely, yes, we will. And actually, what Beyond School Hours is going to be doing is the day before the reminder email that goes out for next week's session, the PDF attachments will be part of that email. That way you'll have, at least 24 hours to, receive the email, review them, print them off if you want to, and we'll walk through each of those and do a couple different activities next week. Great question. Great. So we've got just a few more minutes left. And one of the things that we'll want to do is we are going to have a little exit ticket activity. I'm going to save that for the very last. So for, just again, for you personally, want you to think about looking at your own wheel. What are your next steps for you personally? Because we wanted today to be about you first, because we have to take care of ourselves first in order to take care of others and be there for others. So does anybody, has anyone already started about an action plan? Is there an area on the wheel that for sure you want to go ahead and look at, starting tomorrow, starting, in an hour, an action plan, next steps that you might be working on? Yes, you have to secure your own mask before helping others.
I just want to jump in here. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Julia.
Hey. I just want to say that is such a good question that's a little bit confrontational, right? Nobody thought that the instructor today, the facilitator, would say, here's some things about you. Now, what are you going to do about it? Right. And while that is not our job, and we won't know if you do, it's a really great question to ask. If you saw something on the wheel that you're like, that's something I can work on. What's one, I say micro step, what's one thing I can do in the next 24 hours to see if I can move the needle on those dots, right? So while it's confrontational, it's not a test. It's really for you to start to think about action. The difference between, I'm just going to throw this out here, our social emotional learning is not just about, oh, I examine how I feel, and this is what I know about myself. This is what, now we say, and then what are you going to do about it? That's what is different. The Kigrit way is, what are you going to do about it if you see that you're learning about yourself? What's the adjustment you're going to make? What's that little step you're going to make? So I just want to jump in there and back you up, Michelle. It's a great question to ask.
Thank you, Julia. Glad you could join us. And yes, we need to remember to breathe. Stephanie, yes, thank you so much for your small step. You're just that little inch forward. All right. Well, like I said, we just have a few more minutes left. Definitely want to answer any questions. If there's any last remaining thoughts that anybody wants to share. I do hope that, we'll see you all next week to continue the conversation and, take a look again at, where our dots are on this wheel. So to go ahead and round out today's session, Julia went ahead and put in a thank you. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the little message. So here's how we're going to round out using the chat box, or feel free to unmute and share. But, what is it that, one thing that you liked about today's session, one thing that you learned, or one thing that surprised you? So just looking for one answer from everybody, or, if you want to answer all three, feel free. Love to get your feedback on today's quick little session on the Holistic Wellness Wheel.
I talk a lot. I'll start.
Not at all. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, yeah, I'll start. And then you got to read Natalie's comment because you put a comment in the text. I would just say that what I like about this is I like the idea of using it for the group to kind of get to know each other a little bit better and work better, like make the safe spacer for everybody. But really, it's an individual tool where each individual can work on him or herself rather than, having to feel like, oh, I don't fit in with the group. It's definitely an individual thing where you can work on yourself.
Yes, thank you, Michael. And yes, thank you, Natalie. A moment to pause and reflect. That it can be, this tool can be used in so many different ways. The participation, yes, thank you so much to everybody who participated today and engaged and shared. Deeply appreciate that. Paula, loved hearing all the conversations that were happening. I appreciated my group that I was with, and thank you for your vulnerability. The tool is a self-reflection for teachers and staff, and there is no right or wrong answer. Learned that Mira says that she's more grounded than she thought, at least for today. Love that. Self-reflection is essential. Absolutely love these comments. Learned a new way to measure my wellness and self-reflect. Absolutely. Surprised that such a simple tool could have such a deep reflective impact. Absolutely. It gives me chills. It gives me goosebumps. Love hearing all the feedback from you all. Glad you appreciated it and enjoyed it and found value in the time today. So thank you all so very much. I appreciate the time. Honored to be spending this day with you. And I'm looking forward to continuing the conversations next week as well. If you haven't registered, be sure to you do. If you feel that there's anybody else that might want to come join the conversation, let them know that they can still register for next week. And then today's session is actually being recorded, so they can absolutely catch up and join in. All right, so a little bit more reflective and learning ideas from others. The best part was there's no wrong answer. Yes, thank you all very much. So we've got just a couple minutes. Happy to stay on for the last couple minutes and answer any questions. If not, everybody, enjoy the extra 2 minutes back in your day.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm just going to pop back on and thank you so much. This was an amazing session. We're all really looking forward to next week as well. And Julia, thanks for popping in to join us. And I want to thank everybody who joined us today for taking time out of your busy schedules. We really appreciate having you, and we hope you will join us again for the second part of the session. We also hope you will join us at the Beyond School Hours Conference in Orlando. We will be there February 23rd to the 26th. You can register now. Paula has put that information in the chat box for you. Please take a minute to fill out our feedback survey. We really like to hear your thoughts about how we can improve our webinar series for you. And again, we appreciate your time. This is such a busy time of year, and the fact that you took some time out to spend your day with us, we really appreciate us, and we want to make sure that we are doing quality work for you in the future. So take a minute to fill out that survey. Thanks again for joining us. We hope to see you at the Beyond School Hours Conference, when we'll see you again next week.